What's up everyone, it's Connie with MoneyVest. So very nice recovery from the markets here on Monday after Joe Biden announced that he's dropping out of the presidential election race on Sunday. We talked about how there is going to be some lack of uncertainty going into today and of course this week because of the very fact that there are going to be some polls and some betting odds tilting more in favor of Trump as a new president of the United States starting in November. Again, this is not a political video. I'm not endorsing or stating a political view, but simply how the markets are now starting to think about the future of the United States and of course the presidential election race as well. So that being said, we did have a very nice recovery. We had the S&P 500 jumping over 1%, so back over 5,500. The NASDAQ was also up a little bit over 1.5%. And the Dow Jones also pushing past 40,400, up a little bit over 32 basis points on the day. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, find it helpful, make sure that you drop a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So help me help us get to that goal. And again, share this video, like on this video, that all goes a long way. So starting with the entire market, so NASDAQ back over 18,000, 1.5% increase, S&P 500 5564, and the Dow Jones just over 40,000 points here. We did have a lot of individual stocks pushing higher, starting with Tesla, which was up a little bit over 5%, Nvidia up over 4.5%, SMH was also up over 2 to 3%, VUG was pushing higher, Netflix, Google, AMD, Meta, Microsoft, a lot of them were in the green, rebounding a little bit after last week's sell-off. And this right here was my portfolio, up just over $10,000. So again, it's nice to see a bit of a rebound, still off from its all-time highs, obviously, because the markets are off from their all-time highs. But this again is a nice simple day. I did actually buy more shares of, again, stocks and ETFs. So if you want to get access to all the trade alerts and ideas and options alerts, link's going to be down below. I actually closed out my covered calls on a Tesla for a 83% profit. So this right here was the entire trade. The other ones actually did get called away and they were in the money. So I was able to capitalize on some nice profit on Tesla and those shares got sold. But this right here was the other three that I closed out on at close to 84% profit, and then I sold new ones with a little bit further out in expiration, and I believe the same strike price that, again, I sent out the alert in the Discord. So link's going to be down below if you want to get access to all the alerts, find out exactly what I'm buying, my entire shopping list, our MoneyVest index readings, as well as the entire MoneyVest platform. So we also now have the earnings calendar as part of the platform. And we're building on the economic calendar next, as well as insider transaction, hedge fund trades. Everything's going to be available at some point in the future for our members. And this right here are all the earnings reported today after the markets close. So 7/22 Monday, these are the companies. And NXP also reported $3.13 billion of revenue, $3.20 in earnings per share. Both were a miss for NXP. And again, you can pretty much come over here. These are all non-GAAP numbers, which you can check for earnings. And tomorrow, of course, is a very, very important day because we've got Coca-Cola, we've got Google reporting, GM, we got Moody's, we got Tesla, we've got Capital One, Enphase Energy, we've also got Visa reporting down here. So we got a lot of companies, a lot of big names are reporting their earnings. UPS is reporting, Sherwin-Williams. This right here, I believe I know this company, so this seems to be a logo. CoStar Group also reporting tomorrow after the bell. So again, link's going to be down below. We'd love to have you on board on this platform and give us feedback so how we can improve this platform better. And again, you can pretty much take a look at where everything else is trading. We got the markets, of course, 55.74 with volatility sitting at just under 15, and it was down over 9.56%. So pretty significant decline in volatility. So this right here, the entire day, lots of greenery across the board, and this is the last 1 week. The liquidity has still come out of big tech and Magnificent Seven, and it's gone over to other parts of the market, so that continues to be there. But we are starting to see a bit of a rebound recovery here in the technology sector, communication services, as they are the ones that are up over 1.5%, close to 2% on the day. In the last 1 week, it's a bit of a split market for the different 11 sectors in the S&P 500. Cocoa prices, coffee prices, orange juice all pushing higher, with Bitcoin just over 67,500 and Ether just over 3,400 as well. So coming over to volatility, huge decline, 9.7%, so just under 15 on the VIX here. And again, we're coming back down potentially to inside this red rectangle. We did get a bit of a spike here in volatility. Didn't quite get up to as much as 18 to 20 levels, 21 levels. But of course, we did get up to as much as 17. Still not high enough for us to be super crazy with dollar cost averaging and buying aggressively. But yes, it was, again, a decent spike here as the markets did roll over. And that's exactly the whole point, right? It's really not that complicated. If you really think about it, if you kind of, sit out the market and just observe how they operate, it's really not that complicated to understand that when volatility is high, fear is at an extreme, markets are selling off, market breadth is coming down, technical levels are coming down from overbought levels. It's a clear buy signal. It's a clear buying opportunity. Your buying window is opening up, and the opposite is also true, but not in the terms of that it's a sell signal, but for me, it's most likely a hold signal. That's how I view markets when they're overbought and overextended and kind of heating up a little bit, and volatility is at an extreme low, markets at an all-time high. So I see it more as a hold than as opposed to a straight up sell signal. But the opposite of that, just when it's a buy indicator, it has worked so well in the past, and that's exactly why the money invest index kind of encapsulates that really well. And we did come down to as low as 3.64. The moment we come down to, let's say, low 3s or 2.5 or 2.4 or low 2s, it's going to start becoming a no-brainer buying opportunity in the market, because at that point we'd either be in a correction or almost at a bear market for both the S&P and the NASDAQ as well. So those are some things to keep in mind. Very, very important indicators and very important decisions can be made during times of selling pressure and fear, and that's where majority of the gains come from, is if you make good decisions, smart decisions when the markets are selling off, and you don't kind of shy away from making the hard choices, you don't sell into fear, and you don't panic sell. That's when most of the majority of the gains come in, is what decisions you make during those rare times the markets give you. Now coming over to Bitcoin, so Ether just a little bit over 34.76. Resistance and target is going to be back up to 36.66. Support level is going to stay put at 33.44 according to this technicals. And Bitcoin here is coming back over very nicely. Nice little rebound. And the next target is going to be at around 72,000, pretty much the all-time high. But right now we're kind of flirting around with this resistance at around 67,500 for Bitcoin as well, with a nice support here inside this green rectangle, sitting roughly at 59 to as much as $61,000 for BTC. Now coming over to the markets here, S&P 500. So let's just actually go over to our analysis on this. If you come over to SPX, this right here is the entire technical breakdown. As I showed you guys, that the RSI coming down from its overbought levels, the L3 banker oscillator also rolling over. But today, of course, was a decent day, up over 1%, a little bit over a rebound. So we are still within the context of a dip because we haven't sold off over 10%. We're still within 0 to 5%. We are not over 5% either, so we're not in a pullback either. So we're still within the context of a dip after 3 consecutive days of red. Nice little recovery for S&P 500. But one day does not make a trend. So we just have to be aware that, okay, even though we are seeing a bit of a rebound on the back of what happened over the weekend and last week as well, it's possible that we continue this trend lower, because every single time you notice that we come down, there are some relief rallies. There are some relief rallies. You can see that if I essentially go back to over here, right? So you'll notice that this right here was the exact same thing, right? We came from all-time highs. We were down a little bit over 2.7%. The markets recovered a little bit on that day, almost 1%. This is August 2023, so August 7, 23. And if you fast forward a few more candles, look what happens, right? We consolidate and then we start selling off further, and then boom, we start selling off. A bit of a relief rally again. So you can see that relief rally over here, up over 0.5%. And then the following day, we drop another 1% here. And then we continue to sell off. So those are some things that are obviously important for us to understand that, okay, these relief rallies are a possibility in the market, and we can't make much of it unless, of course, we are in a nice pattern of higher highs and higher lows. We're showing strength, which we currently still are. So keep a close eye on what happens later this week. We've got the Fed meeting next week, and we got Tesla earnings tomorrow, Google earnings tomorrow. We got Enphase and Visa earnings tomorrow. So a lot is on the deck for the markets here. Talking about IXIC, so NASDAQ also in a very similar pattern, higher highs and higher lows overall. Very nice uptrend. Got a little bit of a rebound considering that we were selling off on the other side, the L3 banker oscillator. The index was down from its all-time highs a little bit over 5%. So we were already in a pullback for the NASDAQ. And the support level is going to stay put down to 16,500 for the NASDAQ here. And S&P 500, that next target support is going to stay put at 52.55. And that's going to put us down a little bit over 7% in a quote-unquote pullback. Not a dip, not a correction, but a pullback is where we will be if the S&P comes down and trades down to that level. Coming over to, coming over to the markets and, of course, individual stocks now, starting with Apple. And Apple here also consolidating sideways down about 16 basis points. RSI has, of course, come down a little bit more. The L3 banker oscillator continues, and support level is going to stay for roughly at 220, down to as low as $197, $198 per share. Talking about Amazon, Amazon continues to unfortunately break down, and as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, that it's possible that it's coming back up to retest that old support as a potential resistance, and on the day again, you can see that it got rejected again. This right here is the all-time high, close to all-time highs at over $200, getting rejected here and then selling off. And next support really is going to be down at 170. So 169, 170 is going to be that support to watch for Amazon, and resistance staying put all the way up to as much as 189, close to $190 per share for this company. Talking about Meta platforms, and Meta here also consolidating sideways quite a bit inside this range with a massive area of demand here sitting inside this green rectangle in the 400s, resistance all the way up to 540s, and again that's the area of consolidation for Meta is what we're seeing. And maybe I could mark out a support here at 458, exactly where we have validated in the past and right now in the past here as well. Right now we're just kind of consolidating sideways and bouncing off of that level in the 450s for Meta. Talking about Tesla here, and Tesla also seeing a very nice move back up over 5%. Not bad. It's got earnings coming out tomorrow. The expected earnings are going to be, so if you come over to our earnings calendar, we got EPS expectations for tomorrow of 63 cents with the revenue sitting well over $25 billion. And these are both buy side and sell side analyst estimates on a non-GAAP basis. For Google, we're looking at just over 86 billion with $1.90 in earnings per share on a non-GAAP basis. For Enphase, we're looking at 49 cents, $316 million. And then finally for Visa, we're looking at $2.47 with a revenue at just over $9 billion. So those right there are going to be the expectations for tomorrow after the bell from all these companies. Lockheed Martin is reporting pre-market tomorrow, $17 billion in revenue with just over $6.53 in earnings per share expected from this company as well. So for Tesla, big day tomorrow. We already have the delivery numbers, which were way higher than the actual consensus. And if you come over to Tesla here, you'll notice that again, M-score 3.2, very nice consistent fundamentals over the last several years, especially if you come over to the last, let's say 8 quarters. We have seen revenues a little bit more stable. Gross profit has continued to somewhat stalled. It has been profitable, but it has been coming down, as you can see over here. We are seeing quarter over quarter a little bit of a decline in gross profit, and of course net income has also been coming down, although some spikes in the December quarter of over $7.9 billion. And last but not least, if you come over to inventory levels in the balance sheet, so balance sheet over here, you'll notice at the inventory, it has been picking up a little bit, especially if you come over to the last 16 quarters, you'll notice it has gone up quite considerably. But that number, in my opinion, is going to come down after tomorrow because the company delivered more vehicles than it produced. About 34,000 more vehicles were delivered than they were produced. So it's possible that there were some reductions in inventory from Tesla. So that being said, resistance is going to stay put all the way up to 267. So that's going to be that area of supply and resistance here. Support level is going to stay put at 232. For Tesla, a lot of consolidation sideways here in that range, and it's continuing to form a bit of a symmetrical triangle as well. So this right here can be seen as a bit of a symmetrical triangle for Tesla, and if you do see a breakout, next resistance and target is going to be 265 to as much as $300 for this company. Talking a little bit about NVIDIA now. So NVIDIA, again, consolidating sideways. As I mentioned before, a lot of consolidation happens before the next big move. It's happened multiple times in the past. The ranges have been a lot bigger than where we are now. So this right here was a 39-40% range within which, and 70% rally within which NVIDIA was trading before seeing a much bigger move. It's more clear on the weekly time frame. And as you can see, again, a lot of consolidation sideways before breaking out, a lot of consolidation sideways before breaking out, and it's possible that we do see a lot of consolidation sideways before potentially breaking out for NVIDIA moving forward. Talking about Google, and but in the meantime, again, keep a close eye for NVIDIA. It's supported around 118 and a resistance all the way up to 140 for this stock. Google, on the other hand, seeing a bit of a bounce back higher as well, considering the L3 banker oscillator also did point to a yellow bar. RSI also pushing higher, so we're seeing a little bit of a rebound. Support level is going to stay put inside this green rectangle, and area of demand sitting roughly in the 167, 170s, all the way down to 150s for Google as well. So nice little recovery possible for Google. Microsoft also in a very similar situation. Nice bounce back higher from 430s, considering that that's been a previous resistance for Microsoft, and we're seeing a nice little rebound on the RSI and the L3 banker oscillator in terms of that support for Microsoft. Very quickly going over to PayPal and Visa on these charts here. PayPal did recover a little bit over 2% on the day, so just back over $60. Next resistance is going to stay up roughly at $65 per share, so that right there is going to be that level to keep in mind with the support at $57. A lot of consolidation sideways for PayPal, and Visa here also seeing a lower high and lower low pattern. I've done a video on Visa, so make sure that you do check that out. And support level is, this is pretty much a bit of a resistance for Visa, and we are still within the context of a lower high and lower low pattern. If you do end up, let's say, selling off post earnings, then it's possible that we do trade back down to as low as 249, 250s, where Visa would make for a decent starting position, taking a bit of a starter at those levels for this company as well. And finally, if you come over to Enphase and Costco, so Enphase here, a lot of consolidation sideways. Support level is going to stay up roughly around $96, $97. Resistance all the way up to 140. Big earnings coming up for Enphase as well. A lot of consolidation sideways in that range. And depending on what they actually end up announcing, it's possible that we do see some type of momentum higher, considering that, in my opinion, the worst is already behind Enphase as inventory starts to loosen up a little bit, and we do see interest rates start to potentially come down, and that is only going to be a tailwind for the company moving forward, especially starting 2025 once they go through the tough times of 2024. So resistance and targets all the way up to 138, massive support here in the $93, $94, and of course AMD here coming back down to that support. So it does start to look very attractive here from a trade idea standpoint as well, considering how oversold we are now on the RSI, the MACD, and the L3 banker oscillator, and a massive area of demand in the 150s for AMD. They're also reporting earnings on July 30th. So if you come over to the platform, let's take a quick look. So July 30th is when they are reporting their numbers. So not this week, but next week is when they are reporting after the bell. So they should be over here somewhere. If you come down, let me just search. There we go. So Advanced Micro Devices right there. We got July 30th after the bell, $5.78 billion in revenue with 68 cents in earnings per share is what they're scheduled to report. Uber is also coming out. S&P Global, Arista Network. Wow, it's going to be quite an interesting day next week on July 30th. PayPal is also on there. $8 billion, almost $8 billion in revenue with $1 in earnings per share for the company on that day. So again, the entire earnings calendar, by the way, is available to all of you. You can check out the revenue and the EPS expectations laid out really well. And the cool thing is that we've also color coded them. So if it's green or red, that means it's already been reported and it's a beat or a miss. So you can see that these are all in gray. These are estimates for this week. This was already reported today. That's why they are already color coded, meaning the actual numbers on a non-GAAP basis have been reported on our platform. And finally, if you come over to Costco, and Costco here continues to consolidate sideways at that support of $839, $840, all the way down to $785 is going to be that next support level, and of course resistance all the way up to almost $900 for Costco as well. So hope you all enjoyed this video and a complete update on the markets. Make sure that you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Again, links to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below. There is a 51% discount available until the end of this month. With another 7 days left, links going to be down below. We'd love to have you on board. As always, happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video.